In a last-ditch effort, Trump says to release the Epstein files. And people are trying to figure out what his angle is, because here's the post he made today, 1 hour ago. As I said on Friday night aboard Air Force One to the fake news media, House Republicans should vote to release the Epstein files because we have nothing to hide, and it's time to move on from this Democrat hoax perpetrated by radical left lunatics in order to deflect from the great success of the Republican Party, including our recent victory on the Democrat shutdown. The Department of Justice has already turned over tens of thousands of pages to the public on Epstein and are looking at various Democrat operatives, Bill Clinton, Reid Hoffman, Larry Summers, etc., and their relationship to Epstein, and the House Oversight Committee can have whatever they are legally entitled to. I don't care. All I do care about is that Republicans get back on point, which is the economy affordability, where we are winning big. Our victory on reducing inflation from the highest level in history to practically nothing, bringing down the prices for American people, delivering historic tax cuts, gaining trillions of dollars of investment into America. A record. The rebuilding of our military, securing our border, deporting criminal illegal aliens, ending men and women's sports, stopping trans for everyone, and so much more. Nobody cared about Jeffrey Epstein when he was alive, and if the Democrats had anything, they would have released it before our landslide election victory. Some members of the Republican Party are being used, and we can't let that happen. Let's start talking about the Republican Party's record-setting achievements and not fall into the Epstein trap, which is actually a curse on the Democrats, not us. Make America great again. Now, there's 3 takeaways from this. Number 1, Trump realizes he has nowhere to go. This is because as of yesterday, MAGA has been so mad. Not only have they been silently leaving and vocally leaving, they're now burning their hats again. This was just yesterday. Remember when they did this back in July too? And how long have we been saying MAGA is on fire? They're imploding from the inside. Trump doesn't have a choice but to look like he backs the release of the Epstein files, even though he's the one that's been telling Republicans to block it and has not released it. Now, he's calling for a vote to release it. However, he can release it right now, and he still hasn't done that. Let's also not forget that the FBI has been redacting Trump's name and other big government officials out of the Epstein list, and he just put Pam Bondi to investigate the Epstein list after claiming to not care about it just yesterday, which people were accusing him of trying to block the vote with the claim of it's being investigated by the DOJ, so we can't vote on it right now, which he still might use. The problem for Trump is if they did redact any type of evidence that he was in it, there's no way he could have redacted all of the evidence. One slight slip up and everybody will be able to tell that these records were severely amended. But I also imagine that the impeachment process will become a lot easier once these files are released. And with the technology we have today, I wouldn't be surprised if there was a way to unredact the names. It's too late, Trump. No matter what you do, we know what you did. And if we find you nowhere in the Epstein files doing nothing bad with all the evidence we have, with the less than 25% MAGA remaining, where are you going to run? Trump may have been able to convince other PDFs to defend him. Newsflash, the majority of America wants to protect children. And with Trump throwing people away like a piece of garbage, he hasn't realized until now just how bad it's gotten with MAGA. They are now split between Marjorie Taylor Greene, Tucker Carlson, Nick Fuentes, and the list goes on. Because fact of the matter is, Trump is a terrible leader. So when he's asked about Nick Fuentes, who has been criticizing him, calling him names, and calling him a failure, and Tucker Carlson, who's been turning against him, Trump actually backs down in this clip and says he likes the both of them because he realizes he needs to recruit more allies. This happened just today. Let's take a look at what he said.
Carlson recently had a friendly interview with anti-Semite Nick Fuentes. Tucker Carlson. What role do you think Tucker Carlson should play in the Republican Party and the conservative movement going forward?
Well, I found him to be good. I mean, he said good things about me over the years. I think he's good. We've had some good interviews. I did an interview with him. We had 300 million hits. You know that. Look, I can't tell him. Will you let me finish my statement? You are the worst. You're with Bloomberg, right? You are the worst. I don't know why they even have you. We've had some great interviews with Tucker Carlson, but you can't tell him who to interview. I mean, if he wants to interview Nick Fuentes, I don't know much about him, but if he wants to do it, get the word out. Let him, people have to decide. Ultimately, people have to decide.
Bear in mind, Nick Fuentes has had nothing but negative things to say about Trump all year long, telling MAGA to not vote for him and calling Trump a traitor. It's kind of what he's known for right now. The Nazi that no longer supports Trump. But let's take a look at this video right here.
I don't want their support anymore. Well, fine. You don't get it anymore. Nobody should vote for Trump. Nobody should vote for Republicans. And what needs to happen next, by the way, the Republicans must be in the midterms. That's what must come of this. Trump must fucking pay for this statement to say, I don't want your support anymore. Every single Trump supporter, every single Republican needs to say, okay, bet. You don't want our support? Forget about the midterms. Forget it. The 2026 midterms, it just needs to be a Democrat avalanche at this point. And that's not because I'm a Democrat. I'm not. I don't like the Democrats. I hate the Republicans more because the Republicans are traitors. Because I have voted for Republicans, I have supported Republicans, and they shit on our face.
And that is just one of the thousands of things Nick Fuentes has had to say about Trump and how he's a failure as a president and how he's failed the white supremacists and Nazis. And instead of giving him the Marjorie Taylor Greene treatment, he sees Nick Fuentes, who was a self-proclaimed Nazi and proud white supremacist by his own words, and his growing fan base of other Nazis. And instead of giving him the Marjorie Taylor Greene treatment, which Nick Fuentes has said way worse things than Marjorie Taylor Greene, Trump realizes he doesn't have room for any more enemies, and it's time for him to try to recruit more loyalists just so he can dump them again once he no longer needs them. But they should be reminded of what's happening to Marjorie Taylor Greene right now for wanting to protect Epstein victims. Trump will reel you in, pull you in close, then stab you in the back at first moment's notice. He will siphon all the life, energy, and time away from you. Because in the same interview, he's asked about Marjorie Taylor Greene and said nobody cares about her after the reporter asked him, what do you think about Marjorie Taylor Greene saying her life is in danger? Take a look at this clip.
I talk to you, right? I talk to anybody. We'll see what happens.
Her life could be in danger because of the rhetoric.
Her life is in danger? Who's that?
Marjorie Taylor Greene, she says.
Marjorie Taylor Greene. I don't think her life is in danger. Frankly, I don't think anybody cares about her. Okay.
And that is exactly what Trump will do to any of his loyalists, the same as he's been doing to MAGA. Let's not forget when he made that post saying, I don't need you. But apparently he needs somebody. And with Trump realizing he's completely helpless and the Epstein files getting released, here's what Thomas Massie has to say about Trump, warning Republicans that if you side with Trump, we will remember.
We're forcing this vote, and it's going to happen. I would remind my Republican colleagues who are deciding how to vote, Donald Trump can protect you in red districts right now by giving you an endorsement, but in 2030, he's not going to be the president, and you will have voted to protect pedophiles if you don't vote to release these files, and the president can't protect you then. This vote, the record of this vote, will last longer than Donald Trump.
Trump is at a stalemate with Republicans and MAGA turning on him. What else is he supposed to do? He's done for. There's nobody on his side besides the people he's currently paying off still. MAGA went from saying, yes, I voted for this, we are so back in April, to the government has effed my family's livelihood, literally destroyed it overnight with the hemp provision. I will not be voting in 2026 or 2028. The GOP sucks and will sell out to lobbies and big donors at the expense of the American people. F the government. Just now, 2 days ago, in November 2025. It took Trump less than 1 year to destroy the entire country, divide everybody to include his own fan base, and ruin so many people's lives. Bear in mind that MAGA only leaves when something bad happens to them because Trump destroyed his hemp business. Everything else was fine until it was personal. May these types of people never find you or me. And for Trump to make a post saying he seemingly no longer cares about the Epstein files, trying to take away the value of it by trying to convince America he could just care less about it, when he's tried this hard to cover it up, so far that he had the FBI redact his name from it, and is denying the birthday letters he wrote to Epstein, and has been avoiding reporters to not address Epstein's emails convicting him. Trump blows up on a reporter this morning just for simply asking about Epstein, and here's what he had to say.
They would like to talk.
Mr. President, Representative Massey says he's concerned that the Epstein probe you are calling for could be a smokescreen to block the release of more files. Is that the case?
Well, I don't want to talk about it because fake news like you're a terrible reporter, and fake news like you, they just keep bringing that up to deflect from the tremendous success of the Trump administration. So a guy like Massey, his poll numbers are showing he's at 6% approval rating right now. And we call him Rand Paul Jr. because he never votes for the Republican Party. So they're using Jeffrey Epstein as a deflection from the tremendous success that we're having as a party.
If you paid close attention to Trump's reaction right there, he seemed exposed. And that tells us all we need to know, that he in fact was trying to use the DOJ as a smokescreen when he told Pam Bondi to investigate the Epstein files. Knowing we are days away from an Epstein file vote, and it has a very high likelihood of passing. And many people are thinking the same thing right now with Trump's post today. He's going to claim that he was all for the Epstein file release, but then it's going to be blocked by the DOJ. And he's also probably relying on the backup that he had the FBI redact his name. However, it is not enough. Not only is he a PDF, but he is a PDF protector. And it's been a while since we've seen Donald Trump look this guilty. And to that reporter, if Trump calls you a terrible reporter, chances are you're doing a great job. Keep applying pressure and do not back down. There's nothing a narcissist hates more than being revealed. That's when the real them comes out, and that's what this moment was. I would also like to point out that the Epstein survivors have come together and put out a message saying to release the files. And this was just hours before Trump made that post. Let's take a look at what they had to say.
It's time to bring the secrets out of the shadows. It's time to shine a light into the darkness.
What's actually brilliant about this messaging is that they put 5 administrations and we're still in the dark. Now there's no room for MAGA to claim what about Biden. They don't care about any of that. When I tell you the only remaining MAGA is the ones that are PDFs themselves or PDF protectors, this is exactly what I mean. We just saw them defending, saying that 15-year-old girls are barely legal. And some are even asking people what's so wrong about what Trump did. But we have this PDF right here making a post about his history and how he's a PDF. You can't make this up. At age 22, as a first-year teacher, I engaged in a consensual encounter with a 16-year-old who was not my student. There was no forced coercion or predatory intent. Because I was employed as a teacher, the conduct was classified as a Tier 3 offense and requires lifetime offender registry replacement, as you should be. This is who is left defending Trump. PDFs themselves and PDF protectors. There's nowhere to run. And they're clearly not too smart too. They are trying to normalize this behavior, but in the end, they're only outing themselves. So with Trump knowing this Epstein vote is going to pass no matter what, it looks like we are finally going to reach a conclusion. And that conclusion is impeachment and then prison time. In no universe could we have ever guessed that the biggest traitor to America was going to be the president of America. One of the most exposing things for Trump was when Jeffrey Epstein's own brother said, not only did Jeffrey Epstein have an incredible amount of dirt on Trump, as we saw in those emails, the birthday letter, the records, the files he won't release, but his brother also alludes to Trump having to do something with Jeffrey Epstein dying. Let's see what he had to say about that.
When you saw that interview with them, I think there was a couple of interviews. The one thing with Maria Bartiromo, where they sat down, and I mean, they were glum and they're saying there's nothing there. I would be honest with you, there's nothing there. After years and years of pushing and also calling this somehow a Democrat, according to them, conspiracy theory, and that somehow the Democrats were involved in your brother's death.
I don't think the Democrats, look at it this way. Bill Barr, when he came out with that ridiculous statement, he was the Attorney General. You know, who did he, look, if Jeffrey was murdered, which I believe he was, somebody did it. So the people who were coming out with these ridiculous statements, I think, are covering up for somebody, right? So who are they covering up for? You know, Bill Barr worked for the President of the United States. Kash Patel works for the President of the United States. Pam Bondi works for the President of the United States. Maybe someone should ask him what he knows.
Who do you think they're covering up for?
Who do they all work for?
They all work for Donald Trump.
Well, like I said in another interview, I wouldn't be surprised.
You wouldn't be surprised if Donald Trump was behind your brother's death? Are you saying that Donald Trump had your brother murdered, you believe?
I'm not saying that. I'm saying if that's what it was, I wouldn't be surprised. We know that Jeffrey had dirt on Donald Trump. We know that. That's a fact. Because he said in 2016 with the election that if he said what he knew, they'd have to cancel the election. He didn't tell me what he knew, but that's what he said. And I've been public about that before. That shouldn't come as a shock.
Dirt like what? Dirt about what?
Cool. Steve Bannon said that the only person he feared for Donald Trump's sake was Jeffrey Epstein. Why? What do you think? Jeffrey was going to beat him up? No, it's because of what Jeffrey knew.
And what did Jeffrey know?
Well, I don't know. He didn't tell me what he knew, but he said if he said what he knew, they'd have to cancel the election. That's a direct quote.
Jeffrey Epstein also said in emails that the only person Trump fears is him because he's the only one that can take him down. And the person emailing him agreed with him. And actually told Jeffrey Epstein before he replied, only you can take him down, that's why he fears you. And it's crazy how all these years later from the grave, that same person just may be the person that takes down Donald Trump. I mean, the man's brother is saying what we're all thinking. And fact of the matter is, we wouldn't be surprised if he was implicated in it. And with our government officials trying so hard not to release these Epstein files, it makes us ask, what do you know? And how is it legal for Kash Patel to call for the redacting of the Epstein files to erase Trump's name? Let's hope copies are kept by whoever they obtain these files from. And something tells me this isn't going to go the way they think it is. Fact of the matter is, we have every piece of information we need to implicate Trump. And this is only information we've been able to get a hold of. So imagine the magnitude of what they're hiding. And it's almost as if we spoke it into existence every time we said release the Epstein files, Donald Trump. Because now the culprit himself is saying release the Epstein files, Donald Trump. As he refuses to release the Epstein files. You're done, Trump. MAGA's done. This is over. And he can hold out for as long as he wants to hold out. He knows he's screwed come midterms. Because when even Nick Fuentes is telling MAGA to vote for Democrats in midterms, it's game over. The Nazi is saying to vote against my own self-interest because he hates Trump that much. And that is the problem with being a narcissist, because eventually you have to reveal yourself. Destroying our economy, then lying to us, telling us it's better than ever as people go days without eating and lose their homes. And then defunding what little they have of their health care, not paying them their SNAP benefits, putting people of color and women at risk every single day to push an agenda, and then hiding it under the blanket of Christianity. And when you couple all of that, that is not a president. That is someone who's lost their soul. And with that being said, release the Epstein files, Donald Trump. Thank you very much for watching this video. Please make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you next time.